Hey, what's up? Sam Taggart, your sales expert. So I'm gonna dive into some leadership training. Like, what are the 5 main mistakes that people make as leaders that actually fail their sales teams? Now, I have a ton of free content on leadership and recruiting and training that you can have access to just by clicking the link. I'd love to give you more, but I'm gonna dive right in, okay? So the first mistake is they don't listen, okay? So people in this leadership position is they always assume, they're always just ones to preach. They're like, look, you should do this, you should do this, you should do this. Instead of making an agreement, they set the expectations. So in my opinion, it's better to create an agreement with people and say, tell me where you're at, where could you get to, what can you agree to, where can I help you, and then let's come up with an agreement of how I can push and motivate you to take you to the next level. But until they listen to their sales rep, until they listen, you're never gonna be able to actually impact that individual because they're now feeling like an employee. They're feeling like a peon in your game of do this, do this, do this, and you're now the dictator. Never become the dictator. Be somebody that's willing to listen with them and figure out what their needs and wants are so that you can cater your program to them. And that leads me to the second one, is they don't cater. Wow. And what I mean by that is simply many leaders think a blanket approach is going to really help their salespeople. The reality is this guy might be really motivated with money. This guy could care less and he's like, I just need enough to survive, but he's so motivated by travel. This guy's motivated by little gadgets and gizmos. So the reality is every one of your sales reps have different hot buttons to press on. They also have different dopamine hits. The powerful leaders that really do well in this business are ones that know how to play the dopamine hits. And what I mean by that is they get them addicted to success of recognition. So what many leaders do is they don't cater this recognition and praise to what people are seeking. They just say, oh, I think everybody's gonna be stoked with this $1,000 incentive. I was out in Florida last week with a guy, he's like, hey, the most car group gets $1,000 this week, or this weekend. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, well, that was really cool, but you might have just wasted your $1,000. If you would have set it up right, catered it a little bit more to our specific competition, specific needs and wants of what people are asking for, and you actually understood them, you might have only had to give out $300 and they would have been just as excited, just as jacked, and it would have gone a lot farther than you throwing out a $1,000 incentive. So make sure to cater the program, cater the incentives, cater the dopamine hits and the rewards all to who you're actually serving. Some people might love a big company trip and people are like, I hate traveling, I just really want time off, or whatever that is. Now the third one is they don't empathize. And what I mean by that is we don't ever put ourselves back when we were a rookie. Being a leader, we probably have some tenure here, right? There's probably some time we spent in the trenches. We were really bad, but we hustled our butts off and we got to where we're at now. And sometimes we fail to remember our first week, our first month, our first year, and we say, oh, back when I was doing this, you know, we actually had to knock uphill both ways, or whatever, right? And we try to almost like put ourselves here and they're still here. And we fail to realize that these guys are struggling. It's new, it's a new muscle that they've never used. It's new content, it's a new product, it's new everything to them. And it's a new language. It's like if I asked you right now to go speak Chinese, you'd be like, ni hao, like that's as far as you get. And I would have to empathize with you and be like, dude, when I learned a new language, I remember my first time and making some dumb mistakes, saying some dumb things to people and telling people that they were fat when I meant to say something else. And I now can empathize with you with that. Be like, I get it, it's tough, but with time and consistency and practice and training, you'll get there. And oftentimes our sales reps are actually gonna like look up to us and be like, oh man, that guy's a dick because he doesn't get what I get. But in reality, we always start somewhere, so just realize that. So the fourth one is they don't lead from the front. And what I mean by this is I train hundreds of companies. Like I literally my job's so fun. I get to go to companies, consult them, and I see the owners a lot of times. And this is organizations that maybe have 5, 10 sales reps. And the owners are sitting there going, well, I'm on my throne and I want my peons to go out and hunt for me, bring me back food, and I'll sit here fat and happy. In today's society, people want to see the leader actually leading from the front. I promise you, I had a client up in Chicago, and it was really interesting because I did a 2-week follow-up after our initial consulting visit. And I simply looked at him and I said, hey, are you still out there hustling? How's the team going? He's like, no, I'm trying to implement all these things and our team's actually dipped after you've come out. And I go, remember what I said. Your job is to duplicate yourself, and you do that by leading from the front. You can delegate all the other tedious stuff like organizing content, print, some delegating ops stuff. I'm like, if you're truly wanting to be a sales leader, you've got to delegate the stuff that's tedious and realize your moneymaker is duplicating those that you want below you, and you can only do that by leading from the front. At one point, maybe when you've got 1,000 guys or 800 sales guys under you, maybe you found yourself to work your way out of the guy that's actually leading from the front because you have an individual that's competent to do that. But until you have that, the biggest mistake is people try to get themselves out from the field instead of diving deeper into it, leading from the trenches. Number 5 is they don't hold them accountable. So what I mean by that is leaders just think that they can just send them out in the field or send them in the trenches and they're just gonna somehow magically be dialed in with their goals and know their scorecards and know their KPIs and improve themselves. The reality is in today's society, they need a leader that's saying, look, what's your goal? I'm gonna be with you every day, every week, every month, whatever it takes to make sure you hit your goal. And I'm willing to call you out because I care about you when you're not on track. Many leaders don't even know their reps aren't even on track for their goal. They send them out there and they don't pay attention because they're so busy doing so much other stuff. So in order to hold people accountable, you have to have a scorecard. Whether that's a numbers board in your office, whether that's a CRM, whether it's a dashboard, you have to have some way to keep score. That rep has to be super visible to that information. You have to be there and you have to be clear on what people are trying to accomplish. Now, if you're a good leader, you're able to just say, stay on the path, stay consistent because you're falling back. I'm gonna inspire you to actually go and hit your numbers, right? So the biggest thing with holding people accountable is saying, I'm on your team. Many people, when they are holding reps accountable, a big mistake that leaders make is they feel like they're on a different team. He's like, stop bugging me about my numbers. Like, if they feel that you're sitting there cracking a whip and you're on the opposite team, they're gonna just not be that motivated by their goals and numbers, and you're actually demotivating that. You want to say, look, what's your goals? I'm listening to you, I'm empathizing, I'm catering, and I'm going to be there on your team. Do I have permission to hold you accountable to that because I care about you and I want you to succeed? Those are some really powerful leadership techniques. So let me recap. They don't listen, they don't cater, they don't empathize, they don't lead from the front, and they don't hold their people accountable. So if you want to be a solid leader, here's the things that most ones make mistakes on. Just don't do this. I have a ton of free content on leadership. Just click the link. But if you want to schedule a demo to really deep dive into the techniques of like how to have coaching conversations, how to have recruiting conversations, how to inspire, how to motivate, but the nuts and bolts, we have all that on an online university. So click for a free demo and let's schedule a time where we can go through some of the content that we have that's behind closed doors that are in our university. Love to see you. Hope you like this video and continue watching more and share this stuff.